Welcome to Live from the Space at 100th Taylor with Tony Hanna. Hi, Tony.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Wow, that was mind-boggling. So
thank
you
you
for that. I mean, the few times that we've seen you, every time it just gets more whimsical. And thank you to Luke Schneider there for providing that wonderful sonic landscape there. That was beautiful, man. Mm-hmm. So, Tony, let me start by saying this, and we talked about this off camera, just in research, the term that kept coming back to us was, you are an analog soul for a digital world.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
It just to say you're from another era almost doesn't do it justice, because you encapsulate so much of the history of music in 2022 in a beautiful time capsule today. It's wonderful. So anyway.
Thank you so much. I was saying earlier, I was like, you should write my bio, because I can't even come up with this. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Oh my God. So you've been in. So you are from Tennessee. But you've been around a little bit. You've been in Brooklyn, but you were in Northern California as well, and now you're back in Nashville.
Yes.
How has the return home been for the prodigal daughter?
Yeah. Oh man, it's been so nice. It's just so nice being back in Tennessee. There's something, that feels very familiar about it. Brings me back to my childhood, growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and just even I was telling my friends, a good Tennessee rain. It doesn't feel like the rain in California or the rain in New York. There's something about it. It's sweeter, or
interesting.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No, I love it. That's
thinking back to my childhood, or the memories and stuff like that. So
yeah. Absolutely. And I want to get to your childhood in a second, but California. I mean, you grew up quite as an artist there. I know you moved here. And people don't connect to country music, but the Bakersfield sound. There's a buck of stuff that happened there, right? Buck Owens is from that part of the country. That sound, and I'm missing a few, but there is some country out of that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there is that sound there, right?
Yeah, definitely. And Emmylou Harris spent a lot of time out there too. And that's somebody that I definitely emulate, and. There's a dreamy quality to her music, and I feel like it kind of is in my music as well, a dreamy California country vibe. Yeah. But then also I do feel like I do the kind of Dwight Yoakam rhythm patterns a little bit. It's got a Spanish flair to it, I think.
I agree. Yeah. I love that. Okay, so you grew up in the Smoky Mountains, you said, close to Knoxville, which for people my audience that doesn't know, it's a beautiful part. It's where Dolly Parton's from. How was it growing up in that area? I know that you saw Dolly Parton actually perform at Dollywood.
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I probably didn't even know that it was her, but my mom told me that we went and saw her, and I was just so into Dolly Parton when I was a kid, and
before it was cool.
Before it was cool, I thought it was cool at the time.
Exactly.
But you enter her theme park and there's music coming through the rocks, and it's just the most magical experience. That it's everywhere. You smell it, the funnel cake, and all this. It hits all your senses.
Sure.
That theme park. I don't know if you've ever been.
It was once. Yes.
Yeah, and there's all these grandmas dressed in these cool little
wonderful
outfits and prairie dresses and stuff, and. So I grew up going to Dollywood, but also, around the Smoky Mountains, which is a thing in itself. And I think it affected me a lot, growing up, and inspired my creativity.
100%. Yeah. And it comes across in the music. And, we were talking that, you recently, moved here, and where you're living now is very natural, and you're in the woods, and you're in contact with nature. That's kind of part of your essence, right?
Yeah.
Come from that.
It's very important to me.
Sure.
I wanted to have a home where I could be in nature, and so a lot of my friends were like, no, live in the city because it's closer to everything. It's closer to the venues and stuff like that. But I would much rather be in nature. It's more inspiring 100%. For me. So. Yeah.
So Tony, what are some moments? I know you get asked this all the time, but I find it fascinating. I mean, you talked about Emmylou Harris. You talked about Dwight Yoakam. I just feel like your sound is like an encyclopedia in it. So I'm curious about what moments, when you were growing up in your formative period, you saw it on TV, a show that you saw, a record that you couldn't stop playing, stuff that really shook your soul, from the inside out,
Yeah. I would say Gillian Welch is one of my major. I grew up listening to her. My mom had this flower shop in the back of our house, and so she started her own business doing floral arrangements for people, and she would be playing Gillian Welch and Emmylou Harris, Red Dirt Girl, just on repeat. And that's what I listened to growing up. And then my dad was really into like James Taylor and Neil Young and those kinds of artists. So I think I was just really inspired by them growing up. But then, and then also Dolly Parton, you know, she also has this like, she's got this flashy side to her, but then she also has the down-home bluegrass, you know, albums and stuff, and writes about her growing up in the cabin and stuff like that. And I grew up, I went to a log cabin elementary school actually when I was a kid, so like definitely can relate to that, you know, experience.
I love
it. Anyway, so yeah, those are the people that inspired me. And then I think when I hit like, I want to say like high school or college age, my brother gave me a Roseanne Cash CD, and that's kind of what opened up my universe for like really liking 80s and 90s country. So that's kind of what I do with the full band usually. I like kind of get a little more into that stuff. But as a singer-songwriter, I think it's the Gillian Welch and Emmylou Harris are the more inspiration for that.
So there's never been a time in your life where like you said, I'm gonna be something else, a vet or something, like you, like a veterinary.
Oh, definitely. I tried to go to nursing school like 3 times.
Did you really? Okay.
Yeah.
And you just kept coming back to music.
I just kept, I wasn't very good at science, and I felt really, really bad about that for a while, because didn't feel like I could support myself when I got out of college. But I ended up studying anthropology and took a lot of classes in ethnomusicology as well.
Okay.
So that was nice to have that inspiration in college, you know. But still, when I got out, I was like, well, what do I do for a job? You know, work at a cafe and then try to do music, and so that's what I've been doing basically.
Okay. So was there like a moment where you're like, okay, it's cool that I have a degree, I have all this stuff, but like my calling, this is not my calling, is to be like an artist.
All the time. And I keep coming back to that. Yeah. So it's just a juggling act, really. And I think I've gotten better at it with time, you know, and there's a lot of resources out there for musicians too, like, you know, podcasts and stuff like that. So it's a community, and we're all helping each other out. And you
mentioned community there in your last answer, and I love that because you have fit in so well in Nashville. I mean, I cannot believe the fact that you moved here like in February. It feels like you've been here forever. Can you just talk a little bit about that? We met at a mutual friend's kind of house, and everybody like knows your name. You're playing all these spots. Just the way that like you and community in Nashville.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I feel like it kind of goes back to social media a little bit. Instagram, you know, just people connecting on that app, and like, because so I could live in California, but then still be friends with people out here in Nashville, you know. But it's so much nicer to be out here and connecting in person.
Totally.
But also, I want to say I've been kind of touring out here for the past year, so I think I made, you know, planted some seeds, and that's how Luke and I met this last summer. And then he knows everyone because he's lived here for so long, and so
I love that.
But it also is, I mean, Nashville is a very uniquely kind place, I want to say, and the people here are just all about the music, and they're all about community, and they could be this amazing musician, but they don't really have like an ego for the most part. I feel like that's how people are. You know, they're very inviting.
I agree with that.
So I wouldn't say it's me. I'd say it's Nashville, really.
But you have a really calming presence. Like I feel like you have a presence of like you cherish the present moment. And I'm wondering, like I don't feel like you're too. Obviously, you're looking ahead and you have goals and all that. But I don't feel like you're stuck in other time zones. Like you are in the now. And I wonder if, like, you know, premonitions and the timing of that was, you know, it came out in 2020. You recorded it in August, so you know, but the timing was very COVID-y, for lack of a better like term. Is that where that like mindfulness came from? The fact that like we kind of lost control that year of like what we thought, like we kind of like, it's like, okay, like this is what life gave us. Let's make the best of it. Does that make sense?
100%. Okay. Like I'd say I was a pretty stressed out person pre-COVID, and I was always worried about stuff, you know, like, but yeah, I think that album coming out and COVID happening, it just gave me a different perspective on life, and really all you have is the present moment, not to be dark, you know, but and then my dad had some health complications too, and it drew me to want to spend more time with him, but it also made me feel like, hey, there's things I want to live my life, you know. COVID, this thing happened with my dad, and those two things were just kind of like, you better do the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
You better live your life, you know.
I love that.
To the fullest, and that means, you know, just being with the people that you want to be with.
Yeah.
And for me, it means playing more music and connecting with other artists. And
you're kicking ass. Mm-hmm. So, you know, let's finish with this. You're gonna play another song. I'm very excited about it. But let me finish with this. Just like being a woman in today's music industry, I know that obviously, you know, there's been a lot of misrepresentation, and in country music, you know, only like a couple in the top 10, you know, for forever, all that stuff. Have you felt any of that, you know, as far as like, you know, just being a woman in today's music industry, or have you heard? Because, you know, personally, I think some of the best music today is made by women. But have you felt like any discrimination at all, misogyny and all that, or?
Well, sometimes, yeah, definitely. It's been, in the past, it's been kind of difficult for me to play in, you know, all male bands. But now I think I'm way more comfortable with it, and I feel just more confident in that setting, so it doesn't affect me as much. As far as like, I don't know. I mean, I think that there are a lot more women doing, I think things are changing, so for the better. And I try to be as inclusive as possible. I try to play with as many women as possible, not just because they're women, but because I love their music.
Sure.
So, and I don't want there to ever be any sort of like competition or anything like that, you know, because there's enough space for everybody, and everybody is so unique too.
Agreed.
And we all have something to bring to the table. So the one thing that I would say is sometimes I look at a music festival roster and I'm like, man,
yeah,
I wish there were more women on this roster or whatever. But you know, I think things are changing, and yeah, it is all about the music too. So I think that if we could just put that at the forefront, then things will change for the better.
Very well said. Yeah. Very well said, Toni. Well, why don't we maybe call Luke here and take us away with another one of your special songs.
I'm not the kind of girl who sits around and waits for a maybe. But you're not the kind of guy who would ever call me baby. And if another lifetime came around and we crossed paths, I'd be lying to myself saying I don't want you back. But in my mind, we had a foolish kind of love, one that never gives up on the things you care about. Well, in my mind, we talked into the night about our dreams that we shared all along. In my mind, we talked into the night about our dreams that were shared.